When we think of Leonardo da Vinci today, we picture the ultimate Renaissance painter, a man who captured ethereal beauty on canvas. But when Leonardo wrote a pitch letter looking for a job with the ruler of Milan, he buried his painting skills in a footnote at the very bottom. Instead, he led with his expertise in building bridges, mortars, and cannons. Looking at his notes, he submitted detailed designs for brutal military hardware. We're talking about heavily armored tanks and scythed chariots meant to sever the limbs of enemy soldiers. To understand his mind, we have to look past the artist. Leonardo was a highly practical, wartime civil engineer who happened to paint on the side. This engineering mindset originated from a twist of fate. He was born out of wedlock. Because of his illegitimate birth, he was locked out of the formal Latin schools attended by the elite. Instead, he was sent to an abacus school. There, he bypassed abstract philosophy and learned the practical, commercial mathematics used by merchants to navigate the physical trade economy. Elite scholars often mocked him for this lack of a classical education. Leonardo dismissed them, arguing that he relied on a far more reliable teacher, direct physical experience. Denied access to textbooks, he was forced to observe and test the physical world for himself. That raw, hands-on methodology became the engine for all his future discoveries. You can see this rigorous, data-driven approach during his time working for the warlord Cesare Borgia. In the early 1500s, most maps were symbolic art pieces, inaccurate and useless for moving armies. Leonardo threw out the symbolism. Tasked with mapping Imola for a military campaign, he walked the streets using a magnetic compass and strict geometry to measure exact distances. Looking at this schematic, you can see a perfect bird's-eye geometric grid detailing the exact layout of the city's streets and fortifications. This allowed Borgia to pinpoint precise defensive weaknesses and position his troops with deadly efficiency. The Imola map marks the major transition of cartography from symbolic illustration to a precise, measured tool for spatial planning. His obsession with observation drove his ambition for flight. Instead of dreaming up magical wings, he spent decades recording the aerodynamics of birds, carefully noting how they push their wings downward with immense force against the air. He directly translated those biological mechanics into his blueprints. This sketch of an ornithopter relies on complex mechanical joints and bat-like wing structures to replicate the physical leverage he observed in nature. He also sketched entirely new ways to conquer gravity. This schematic displays an early concept for an aerial screw. It operates on a precise physical principle. Because air has physical density, a rapidly spinning spiral rotor could push against that air to generate vertical lift. While he lacked the lightweight materials and power sources needed to launch a person, his observations of air as a fluid medium were remarkably advanced for the 15th century. Leonardo treated biology the exact same way he treated machinery. To understand human movement, he broke the law to dismantle bodies, dissecting around 30 corpses. He literally sawed through human skulls to map their internal architecture, producing the very first accurate depictions of the hollow frontal sinus cavities behind our eyebrows. His cardiovascular studies proved the heart is a powerful muscle, discarding the belief it was a vessel for the soul. He mapped its fluid dynamics, noting how swirling blood in the aorta helps the valves close. By working from the inside out, starting with the skeleton, mapping the muscles, and finishing with the skin, he built a comprehensive mechanical blueprint of human anatomy. Leonardo approached a canvas with the mindset of an architect. His painted masterpieces function as rigid engineering projects, and the best example is the mural of The Last Supper. To command the viewer's attention, he deployed a complex mathematical concept called linear perspective. Every parallel architectural line in the painted room converges exactly onto a single vanishing point, located directly at Jesus' forehead. To achieve this flawless geometry, Leonardo hammered a small nail into the center of the plaster and scored thin radial incisions using a taut string to guide his paintbrush. The profound spiritual weight people feel when looking at the mural is entirely anchored by this hidden, calculated mathematical grid. The Mona Lisa's smile is the result of decades of recorded anatomical data. Because he had peeled back the layers of real human faces in the morgue, he knew the exact layout of every nerve and muscle required to pull the corners of the lips. He applied sfumato, blending shadows softly without harsh lines, to mimic light wrapping around underlying muscles. He even used human visual perception against us. The fine, subtle shading makes the smile appear faint when you look right at her mouth, but the broader contrasts make it re-emerge the moment she slips into your peripheral vision. Leonardo da Vinci's work suggests that mastery is found in the obsessive measurement of the physical world. By treating life as a machine to be dismantled and understood, he learned to recreate its most elusive details.